Take Live with Garth Riley.
Welcome to First Take Live. Good to have you with us tonight. Last year, I had this really cool guest on, and the author of Phoenix Star, got some movie options, things they're working on right now. Kiernan Antares was here. And, we've sort of bumped into each other. I get her emails and her e-blasts all the time. And things are always shifting with her. And I thought, you know what, let's do a show again with Kiernan. When is she going to be available? She's available tonight. How's that? Anyway, so are you feeling a little, disconnected? Or, for your life, we're trying to think, what question could we ask you out there? What are you feeling? Things aren't lining up, or maybe they're lining up like they've never lined up before, because that could also be happening as well. So joining me tonight on the show is the author, also a person who does a lot of training and actually facilitation, and does some sort of, has really great, I don't know if you want to say seer, but has certain messages that come through, and they seem to be pretty accurate. Joining me tonight is Kiernan Antares. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Garth.
Yeah.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, well, there you go. Made it back to Oshawa. Well, you were supposed to be back during a snowstorm about 2 months ago.
Yeah, that was a pretty nasty snowstorm, too.
And you can see it from your condo.
I am up on the 40th floor, and it was just a total blizzard.
And see, I phoned you. I said, there's supposed to be a snowstorm, and so I don't know if it's good for you to come, because, coming from where you live, traffic's going to be horrible. And then you said, I'm looking out, and we had no snow, right?
No.
But you said, well, I'm looking out my window going, yeah, there's a snowstorm coming. So you're like a weather channel.
You could say that, yes. Up in the clouds, sometimes I'm completely surrounded by clouds, and you can't see below. Sometimes there's a little rift, and you can see the sky beyond. So we can see storms coming in.
So we actually talking about your life, or we're talking about metaphor, or we're talking about the weather?
Well, probably both, I guess. I was told recently to think of it as my own personal little spaceship.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hovering up there in the sky, just kind of watching what's going on across the city.
So many people have read your book. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about everything that you're doing. And we want to talk about the Emerald Heart and some of the things when they go to your website, they can find out about it. I get your emails, and I'm like, wow, what are you going to talk about now? It's always so interesting. It's very insightful, very personal. Things are happening for you. You get these messages. I mean, Phoenix Star was a message. It was partly based on your story and some other characters that you created, and some were real and some were not. But, is that normal for you to have these kind of epiphanies and then you send them out, or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What I've come to learn is, and it's most especially over this past year, the biggest message is just to share your experiences.
Tell your story.
Because, tell your story. Because we are all connected. And that's a cliche, but most people don't really understand just how connected every single person is to each other. And so I look at it as that whatever it is I'm going through, I need to share it, because in all likelihood, there's a lot of other people who are going through exactly the same thing at the exact same time. I mean, we've all heard stories about people coming up with different ideas at the same time. Scientists having the same discoveries, one like they're across different parts of the world,
right,
and they come up with these discoveries at the same time. So, I really believe in that, and I get validated every month when I share my experiences and the messages that come through, because people are always writing back to me saying, wow, that was exactly what I needed to hear, and your timing was impeccable.
Do people, obviously people are telling their story. The people that wrote back to you, obviously they were saying that I relate, it's exactly the same. But some of us are storytellers and some of us are not.
Right.
I guess we could all tell a story.
Right.
What's the magic? Why is it, I'm going to ask you this sort of thing, because I'll go out and share my stories, and people are like, oh my. But if they had the same story, why aren't they telling the story?
Well, because they are disconnected from who they really are. They don't know who they really are. What is their core essence, their emerald heart? Who are they really? And owning who they are, speaking their truth, and living authentically. And it wasn't until I started doing that and really discovering who I really am, and in sharing my experiences, through my newsletters and that sort of thing, I've become this storyteller.
Is it because you got the feedback? Is it because you started with some trepidation? Did you first say, "Okay, I'm listening, and you want me to tell a story, so I'm going to type this thing out and see what happens"? Was it the response that came back that realized that you were saying? Was it the nudge that was keeping you on track? Obviously, I got to keep doing this.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
What was it like for the first couple times thinking?
I'm telling you, every time I hit that send button for sending my newsletters, I was like, oh my goodness, what are people going to think? And I was really going through that, and just sort of like worrying about how it was going to be received. so when I did start getting the confirmations and these wonderful newsletter or emails coming back and phone calls and just different things that were happening, it's like, okay, all right, okay, this is what you brought me here to do, so I'm going to do it. I'm just going to start sharing openly and just being who I am and stop worrying about how other people are taking it or you know. I mean, even in my initial speaking engagements, there was one function that I was at, and I was just, you know, running off at the mouth. I was talking, and
you're like, what, thinking, what?
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't really, you know, and I asked for feedback afterwards from the organizer of the function, and she kind of criticized me and put me down a little bit, and it really just kind of went, oh, you know, I just kind of, everything inside me just kind of shut down. But a couple of months later, I met a couple of the ladies who, at a different function, who were at this thing, and they were glowing and raving about what an amazing story, you know, the stories that I shared and the experiences, and I was like, really? Oh, yeah, you're a fabulous speaker. And I was just, oh, well, that wasn't the feel. Oh, well, you shouldn't have listened to them. Oh. Oh, jeez.
So what is this message? Because what is this message that you've discovered? Because there's one right there. There's one right there. And I mean, I can relate one as well. But were we paying attention? Because obviously this isn't new, but you find it's new to you as you're getting this edification that people, I think, are often placed in our way to say, that's good, keep going, you can make it. But often we've been conditioned to not hear it.
That's right. Yeah, they're little nudges, little winks, little, you know, confirmations that we get. And they may come through in any number of ways, you know, just songs you might hear, or something you get in the mail, or a conversation between two people where somebody says something and, you know, it sparks this incredible conversation, and it can happen in any number of ways.
What's happening now? It seems to me that, and I know some of the viewers are feeling this too, there seems to be a quickening going on from thoughts or emotions, or if you're feeling something about somebody, the next thing to do is call you, or if you're fearing something, it shows up. And I know it's happening to some people that they talk about vibrating at a higher frequency. You hear that from a lot of the people talking the spiritual movement say that. But I'm seeing it at even levels of people like, I just thought about it and this happened. What's going on? Well,
that's because there are enough people who are holding the higher vibrations, who are doing the work and getting rid of their baggage and becoming more of their true essence, more of their inner, you know, their inner self, their emerald heart, and speaking that, being who they are meant to be, and everything and more. And so there's enough of those people that it just automatically affects the people around in their community, and it spreads outward, much like a ripple effect in the, you know, in the fabric of the cosmos. It spreads outward. So. And
we want to I want to plug your book a bit, because I got to tell you that the women that I know have read this book, and mostly the only women I've talked to about this one, they're like, oh, this is amazing. You know, your book, Phoenix Star. You wrote it because you had nothing better to do? Like, what happened to finally say, okay, I'm going to write this book? And it's no lightweight.
No.
This is quite an involved book.
Right.
What was that like?
Well, writing Phoenix Star was very cathartic for me, because it came from experiences, or inspired by experiences that I had in my own life. I was, you know, involved in the center of a cult. I kind of got pulled into that. Consciously, though, because I made the choice to do that. To follow and be in the center of that. And when I escaped from that, you know, a year and a half later, it took, you know, it was taking years to sort of reclaim my own power, spending a lot of time alone, going within, asking the questions, and relying on myself for the answers, rather than someone else to validate who I am or to tell me what I'm supposed to do and that sort of thing. And so it was really a healing experience. And then finally, when I was strong enough emotionally, you know, I began to question, okay, well, you know, I'm a spiritual person, and I never claim to be a victim, right? I take accountability and responsibility for the things that happen in my life. So I was finally at a place where it's like, okay, so what do I need to do with this? It happened to me, not just for myself, but what can I do? How can I share what I learned from this?
So let's
take it out.
Let's go to break and talk about, then after you figured out, you asked these questions of yourself, what you could learn from it, what did you do with it, and then, of course, what did you do with it, and what are the results after you wrote, well, probably nervous hand, obviously, right? Anyways, we'll come back and talk about that.